You're the one who wanted me to pick you up. So don't you act like I'm the bad guy here.
Don't you forget about me.
Penny and I went on a joint mission last night. It was pretty cool. She there was a huge cricket, so I moved back down to my basement with this game room, and so I've been hanging out down here. But occasionally, like a big, huge, fat black cricket. Are we streaming right now?
Yes.
Perfect. So the people can hear the story. Will like come hopping into the room where I'm like hanging out now, and I don't want that. And my cat Penny is death to critters too. So she this cricket came in, and I got a shoe ready to get it because it was like nickel size, huge, and it knew that I was coming, so it hopped under this shelf. And my cat Penny and I went on a joint mission. She flushed it out, and I got him, and we were both pretty proud.
Nice. Here,
So
YouTube is saying that it has poor connection, which is weird because we are supposed to have good internet here. So I'm gonna listen to this and make sure that it's actually good and we're
it sounds good.
yeah. No, it seems fine. I don't know. I don't know what YouTube's talking about. YouTube, go home. You're drunk.
Yeah, YouTube.
All right.
You shouldn't drink while you're pregnant, YouTube. That's wrong. YouTube's about to have another baby. Did you know that?
Are they? Yeah. Is it going to be WeTube?
Yeah.
Us Tube?
YouTube. Yeah.
Those Tube. Anyway, hey, this is Color Cube. This is not Color Cube Factory. This is C&C Board Game Factory.
I'm Colored Cube.
And I'm Factory.
Yeah.
So this is what I've been thinking about mostly this week has been Color Cube Factory. I feel a little bit bad, like I'm neglecting some of our other thoughts and stuff, but I think I'm just kind of most jazzed about that one, man.
Well, we can make many games together, and I think we got we're starting to move on this one, so that's good.
It is good, yeah. Let's see.
It's not like we're getting tons of people chattering at us like, "Hey, what are you guys going to talk about? Impresario, the Opera House."
It's true. It's true. Overall, I mean, I don't know. I think we're knocking it out of the park. I think we're doing everything correct, Cam. I don't know a single thing that we could be doing better.
Yeah, I think we could dab better when we complete something.
That's true. That's true.
Oh man.
I'm not an expert level dabber. I tried it the other day as a joke in front of my daughter, and I was like, I think I'm doing this wrong, which does not bode well for how.
How old is your daughter? 4?
5. Yeah.
5. She's not old enough to know whether or not you're dabbing wrong. Not old enough to be embarrassed of you yet, right? So.
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
She's that age where she's like, "Oh, my dad taught me how to dab."
And she'd probably just kind of throw her arms to one side and yeah. Anyway, how's life been? You're situated back in your basement now.
Yeah, they fixed it up, and I decided because of some other stuff we were talking about, we're not gonna. Hang on, am I at a good level here? If I go low, there you can kind of see me better, but I can sort of lean back, right?
Lean back. That reminds me of that one very famous song from a couple of years ago. Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls.
Yeah, it's like that. It's
Yeah.
Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls by TLC. Featuring Andre 3000. Andre 3000 was on that album, but I think it was before he was going by the name Andre 3000. I think he was just Andre then, or Dre or something.
Andre 2, $29.99.
Andre 1998. But yeah.
So, I did not know that, though. No, I didn't.
My buddy Travis and I are starting a YouTube channel, I guess, called Variety Society, where we're going to play some video games. So we got some accent chairs down here. I got my TV over there. I got all the board games on the wall still, but the big table's in the other room now, and then the table where I have been gaming is actually up in my living room. This little round breakfast table that expands nicely to a 4-person game sort of size. Little pedestal table, so you don't have to bonk your legs on the legs. No bonking legs on legs. So
eloquent.
I'm gonna get my other NES paintings up behind here. There's an outlet up there that I'm using to charge this iPad right now. It's kind of ugly. That's not going to be the case, hopefully here. But Right now, it looks like I live in a barn because of the cord coming off of the wall. I'm sure that's for like a light, you know what I mean? But
That would make it other like high ceiling electronics. I don't think it's meant for charging phones so much, you know.
yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I think, but we're gonna use it for what I want to use it for right now. So, cool. So that's the intro to what's Cam up to. How you been doing, Chris?
Good, man. I've been playing a lot of Root. Like
Oh yeah,
it's kind of destroyed my productivity. To be completely honest, the Root
you've been
app
playing
came out.
like live games.
What was that?
Have you been playing lots of games live on the app then?
I've been playing against the AI a ton, and it's
Oh, okay. I should do that because every time I play a live game, at least one person is like pretty toxic. I don't know what it is about Root, but like it's always like we'll play the game for like 15 minutes. I'll be like, "Hey, what's up, guys? I've never played the Cats Online before. Sorry if I make some bad decisions." And the other guy will be like, "It's all love, bro." And then like we'll play, and then all of a sudden, Doctor NNPP 032 will say something like, "Why would you attack me when the vagabond has 12 points?" But I like the anonymity. See, here's the thing. I kind of almost wish there was no chat function in Root because I like the way games are. Like, I like that when you play a game online, it's different than when you play a game in person. Like in Root, part of the fun is like having a dialogue and being like, "Hey, listen, I'm sorry I'm walking into this clearing, but I need to attack. Otherwise, I, do that thing. But I won't build a roost here. I'll build it over there where they can easily trash it, and that way I'm not getting too far ahead." And then, like, you can have these conversations.
yeah, yeah.
But I like the anonymity factor, things that make you go,
Things that make you go,
Playing a board game online, where like I like that it's just a mixed bag of people because like the cream tactics, the way you're supposed to play the game, really should rise to the top at that point, where you learn a lot of stuff that like is outside of the meta of your own play group, where it's like, oh, that was a really good decision that person made, and there's like no hard feelings, no harm, no foul, just the cold knife of I'm gonna do whatever I think I should do to win this game. The game's not gonna let me cheat, and so like my tactics here, like are like I just get to make this decision, and there's no like lasting repercussions of what this other person thinks of me. There's no need to have a dialogue. I'm just making decisions, and I think that like really helps you learn what the other factions in Root are capable of, what like play styles are strong, like what foibles you can exploit, and I just think it teaches you to play the game better, and so I kind of like that, like the anonymity of online gaming for that reason.
There's something. I didn't mean to interrupt, but no, there's something interesting about seeing things that are outside of your understanding of a game, right? Like a lot of people say, "I've got this game figured out. This game is broken. It's solved. Blah blah blah," and then you play with somebody else that does like one thing different here, and you just go, "I
This
don't
game's
know. I don't think about
broken.
that."
My ability to adapt is broken, and actually Rob and I were talking about this a couple days ago because on the Facebook Board Game Geek group, somebody posted something about like, "Hey, who else likes Ticket to Ride?" Because they were probably new to the group, and it was like, just one of those questions. So I'm reading the comments like, just because I was like waiting for my lunch to be ready or something, and somebody posts the people we used to play it, but sadly the people I play with, my group and I have broken this game. And I'm thinking like, you can't break Ticket to Ride, okay? It's like the simpler a game is, the harder it is to break. There's probably ways to outplay somebody in any given situation, and like certainly I think that there could exist optimal strategies in terms of like how to react to something.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked this question like, how do you break Ticket to Ride? And she goes, well, the other person I play with and I just prefer to hoard cards. And I didn't respond because I didn't want to sound like a jerk. But I'm like, so you think you've broken this game just because you guys both like to do the same thing? Like, what about quick playing? What about choke points? What about taking, if you're going to hoard all the cards, what about taking locomotive cards and getting to the big roots? Like, if you're trying to hoard cards so you can go along the top of that board and just go 6, 6, 6 3 times in a row, just take 6 locomotive cards and take the one in the middle. Make them divert. And you're playing 2 players, so there's plenty of choke points.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, it's people I know will say they've broken a game, but, like, unless the game really has, the only way to do something, you can't break the game. You're just being uncreative at that point, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good word for it, is uncreative. I know some of the games that I even love, I do get into little habits with. Like, you know what I solo played for the first time, Cam? It was Feast for Odin.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I love it.
I just barfed over here, so I'm kind of paying attention to that right now. Hey, bud. Why are you barfing? Are you done barfing? I'm so sorry. If you wouldn't mind just giving me 2 seconds to make sure that the barf doesn't stick into the carpet here, I appreciate it.
Yeah, go for it. I'll vamp. I'll
So why don't you tell the people about Feast for Odin? I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Just I for the first time solo played Feast for Odin, which is odd because it's one of my favorite games. When did I play it 2-player? Fairly frequently we pull this one out. And I have played more solo games than she has. I've played Terraforming Mars solo, and she she finally did, like, a few months ago for the first time. And so just Viticulture I've played solo, a few more games than her. And so it's odd that one of my favorite games ever, I never actually soloed. And I finally did. I even live streamed it on our YouTube channel last Saturday. And it was a really, really fun time. But I know that I can get into ruts in that game if I don't force myself to do something a little bit more interesting. Like, whaling is an easy strategy to go with, because I think that whaling lends itself to work with other strategies as well that you can do with the game. You can go get islands, you can go ahead and get sheds, you can pillage while you whale, you can do a lot of the blue ship trading and stuff while you whale. Whaling is like an easy thing to do, I think, in general. And so there were times where I felt like I kind of do the same things a lot in this game, even though I really like it. And then I realized, well, it's just because I keep choosing to do that. It's an issue of creativity, not the game is broken or the game requires it or the game doesn't have enough for me to do. The Feast for Odin has enough for me to do. I just choose to keep kind of doing certain similar things. And then once I chose to try different strategies and break out from that, oh man, that game opened up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
yeah. 100%.
Yeah, so I think that there is a level to which people get into ruts and they ascribe that to the game rather than to the play, in a way. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. Like, one of the groups of people I play board games with a lot are probably the type of people that go, oh yeah, we've broken this game. And I played Puerto Rico. Maybe I've told the story, but, like, I played Puerto Rico with them not too long ago, which I played a ton, once upon a time. They played a ton once upon a time. They got it out. And, of course, as people who break games, they have all these foregone conclusions about what they need to do. And I don't think I'm any better at Puerto Rico than them, but I probably played according to my own meta.
Mm-hmm.
The 3 of them played according to their meta, and I smoked them. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's because, like, I was much better at the game. I think it's just because I put a different value on the stuff they valued, and they put a different value on the stuff I valued. And generally speaking, in a board game, if you let one person do their own thing and everybody else is competing for the same thing, they win.
Now, this leads me to an interesting question on more of the design side, right? Is that, would you ever ascribe that as a failure of design, or is it simply that the game is meant to build up these metas and stuff, and then people need to break those metas in order to succeed more, i.e. the game takes more plays. It's not just a game that the first time or the second time through, everyone's on a necessarily equal playing ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we talk about this a lot on the podcast, and you probably do too on Meeple Overboard. But one of the things I think is cool when a game does it, and I think Puerto Rico does it, is it's the kind of thing where, like, you go into a game as a gamer, you sort of understand how games work, and you can kind of figure out how to do well during your first play, and you can kind of figure out how to keep doing well in subsequent plays. But I think, like, the sweet spot for a game is, like, somewhere between 5 and 10 plays. You want the game to have a point where you go, I'm starting to understand the ramifications of little things I do in this game. And, like, some people go, I don't want a game where you have to play a few times to, like, crack it. Some people go, well, I want to play a game where I can, like, be good against people who are good the first time they play it. And I think, like, Puerto Rico has this really nice balance between, like, if you're good at games, you can play against people who are also good at Puerto Rico. And if you think critically about what's about to happen, the player interaction in the game, I think you can win it the first time you play. However, the game, when you're playing with multiple, like, the people who've played multiple times, the nuance in the game stops being, well, don't pick craftsman because then they'll pick which is, like, you can go on that your first time playing and you can win, but, like, you have to start subverting the ideas that the other people have about what you're going to do. And so I think that game, like, succeeds really well at, like, the first play, but also, like, down the road plays. And I don't know if that was intentional, right? Because, I mean, it's hard to be like, I'm going to create a
classic. Yeah.
Right. But I think that's, like, a real huge strength of Puerto Rico is that when you're early playing, you can be like, oh, if I do this, I better be prepared for what's going to happen next. But then you can be 10 or 15 plays down and be like, I think this person is going to pick, mayor. So, first of all, I'm not picking mayor because I only need one guy, and I think they're going to pick that. But also, they're thinking I'm going to pick builder. But somebody will pick builder before I, too long, and it won't help this person at all if I pick settler. So I'm going to, subverting, like, the expectation of what you will do is such, like, I think is a really good testament to how the game could have a meta, but also kind of defies meta, and because it just everything's connected in the way it works. I don't know where I'm going with it, but
I like what you're saying, though. I do, right? Because, I mean, who has the audacity to say, the hubris to say, I'm designing a classic?
Well, we do, but no.
I mean, did Michael Kiesling think when he was designing Azul and say, like, I want to create a game that feels like an old... He probably said, I want to design a game that feels like an old classic, and maybe it'll catch on. And surprise, it did, or... So when I look at what we're doing with Colored Cube Factory and this idea of the mix of worker placement, but also kind of this auction type thing for trying to get some of these majority bonuses and stuff, I feel like there's going to be some room for what you're talking about with Puerto Rico, where you are playing, you're not just putting out a worker because you want to grab some resources, but you're also going to be playing somewhat defense, so to speak, right? Where I can put out a few cubes onto this worker placement spot here, and it'll give me a few dollars or whatever, right? Dollars, but I also put these cubes here because I'm playing defense. I think that Cam is going to be willing to put 3 cubes onto this spot to try and get majority. So if I put 3 cubes out first, I will break the tie for majority. You know what I mean? If I have 3 there first, and now is Cam going to be willing to put out 4 cubes? And I think that it's going to be able to be satisfying your first play, but also 10 plays down the line, I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, I have an idea of what you want to do. I think I'm gonna jump. I think I'm gonna jump ahead of you here.
And that's why we're making a classic from day one.
Yeah.
I have to talk about. I actually really like this worker placement setup you have, and I think obviously we're just in the very, 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 very alpha mode of setting this up,
Mm-hmm.
but I like that aspect of the game, and I think that's a thing that is gonna make it into the final product. Shouldn't I never say never and never say always, right? But
right.
But I like that. My thoughts today are on the factory floor, which I think is my main thing to talk about. I have three little things I wanted to hit. And then you're screen sharing today, right?
Yeah, I can share with you my. So I put together a little bit more in my tabletop simulator mod of the game. I don't know if you call it a mod, if it's your own prototype. Prototype would probably be the better word.
Yeah.
So let me share my screen with you in the chat.
Well, while you're doing that, I have three little aspects I sort of want to talk about.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go. I'm getting close and looking at this. Yeah. Booyah, dude. Booyah. So I was thinking today about little things that first, before the big thought, I was thinking about little things that could make the game kind of have sort of ooh, this is fun sort of little wobbly thing, and just little tiny things we could add to have that in the game.
Okay.
Okay, so here's some thoughts today that we can chew on or we can spit right back out. I think there's one that I've already sort of convinced myself is not that good of an idea.
But throw it out there anyway. Let's hear it.
So I was thinking about how much fun Amerigo and Shogun and games that have a cube tower are.
Okay.
Just for having a cube tower. So I was thinking we should find a way to, and this is probably a bad idea, we should find a way to get a cube tower in the mix for this game because it's already just straight up about cubes. And I was thinking the most obvious place it would be in the market of what's available every round is draw a few cubes out of the bag, drop them down, see what shakes out. Other ones might get shaken loose. Maybe everything you slough off at the end of a round drops down the cube tower, and some of it you can that's what you can buy back later. So you kind of have an influence on the market. Just a thought. Just be thinking cube towers. Can we do it? Can we have more than one? Can we have 4 cube towers in this game? Is there a game that has 4 cube towers? I know I saw this one game somebody was playing at this convention that I was at before people were afraid of COVID. It was February, where I think it had 3 cube towers, but this one would have 4. So,
but this one goes to 11.
Yeah, exactly. That's thought 1. Thought 2 kind of works with thought 3, and these are all little thoughts. Thought 2, what if there was a deck of goal cards that had a big effect on the end of the game? In other words, maybe your company has a goal that you get to choose, maybe not even randomly, maybe after the first couple rounds of the game. Maybe not the greatest idea on its own, but I want to tie it into idea 3. I always think it's kind of fun when games have a little lockbox, like Francis Drake or Godfather, or something where secret. You're putting stuff into a little area that's revealed at the end of the game. Okay.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. We even played a game, a lighter game. I think it was Lords of Zidit, where you drop some of your tokens into this lockbox, and it was a quasi-memory type thing or whatever. But you open up at the end and you see the majorities and stuff. I like that type of stuff.
So a thought was to tie this second idea in, which is not really not that great of an idea or a new idea on its own. I was thinking maybe you'd have a goal that you could try to complete or not try to complete. But basically, in your, you know how like everything's going to be kind of worth a little bit at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking maybe you'd have like a lockbox or storage or area or something that would like multiply the value of leftover stuff at the end of the game, and you could be stuffing your stuff in there like the whole time. But at the end of the game, like once all the scores are tabulated, if you've completed your goal, you get to open your lockbox and add all that to the score. But if you don't complete your goal, then you don't. And so you can just forego trying to do your goal if it becomes like out of hand, but you can like increase the value of stuff you're willing to slough off over the course of the game. Instead of taking it for like a small amount, now it's worth twice that amount as long as you complete this thing that you set out to complete. And it might make the game needlessly complicated, but it would also be kind of cool.
That isn't okay. So if I'm understanding this idea correctly, I find it interesting. So let me repeat back what I've internalized it as, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's also a separate cool idea, right?
Okay, sure.
So over the course of the game, you're getting money. You're spending money on factory pieces. You're using your factory pieces to turn cubes into higher cubes, and things like that, right? So are you saying that throughout the game, you have the opportunity to instead of taking cubes and selling them for victory points or for money, you can instead put them into this long-term storage, this lockbox, if you will.
We're going to squirrel them away, if you will.
Yeah. Okay. Or I don't know if you're thinking this or not, but can you also invest money into your lockbox as if it were like one of those 401,000s? I mean, 401k.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
What I was kind of thinking is like cubes and money have a point value at the end of the game.
Okay.
And so you can put whatever you want in this box, and it just doubles its endgame scoring value. So, like, if a high-tier cube is worth a point, it would be worth 2 points. If 4 coins is worth a point, now 2 coins is worth a point. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. So you squirrel it away over the course of the game, so that you are inhibiting the growth potential of your engine, but you could also choose to maybe completely ignore it.
Yeah.
And if you choose to completely ignore it, you're pumping a lot into your engine, into your factory, hopefully to get more victory points from contracts and such.
Yes.
Ooh, okay. That sounds delightful.
I like the idea, too, that you have to complete something in order to score it.
Right. So otherwise you might be squirreling away your nuts, and at the end of the game you say, I didn't actually put this in an investment portfolio. I just have it sitting in a drawer.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Yeah, like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, the stuff is still worth its basic amount if you don't complete your goal. But it's worth double if you do, I think, but only the stuff that's inside the lockbox. And that way, like, you're not punished twice for screwing up.
Right.
Because you're already inhibiting your engine if you're putting stuff in there. So... but like it also makes it so there's like no reason to like hem and haw over whether or not to do it near the end of the game.
I like this. I like this. So this sounds fun. I don't know if it would be an extra module or if it would be like a base core thing to the game, because it sounds like it could almost be thrown in or not. You know, as
I think it's I think it's a pretty cool idea. But like definitely not anything we have to like focus on, because it'd also be a very easy thing to implement.
I think so. Now the question would be what those goals looked like. What were those goal cards that you would complete so that you could earn your Al Gore lockbox, you know?
Yeah, it might be the same. It might be a thing where it's like it's the same goal for everybody, and so you know what the goal is. Or it could be the kind of thing where it's a secret goal. The thing is, when you get into secret goals, then you have to start trying to balance those goals so that they're all kind of the same. But if you could do a deck of public goals, and if everybody has the same goal, then it's just like, well, this goal's kind of hard this game, but everybody has the same playing field, which is, I think, a thing we want for this. So,
Okay, yeah. That because Ooh. Okay.
And
So
it could even be. Sorry to interrupt.
no, go for it.
It could even be a thing where like there's multiple goals, and you get to like multiply. Like maybe there's like a goal that if you hit it, it doubles the value of your stuff. But like maybe there's a second goal too that if you hit it, like quadruples the value of one specific type of like yellow cube. Like if you can get this goal done, yellow cubes are worth 4 points instead of 1 point. And if you hit both goals, maybe yellow cubes are worth 8 points. But that would get like insane because then you could. That would seems like it would be too much of a combo wombo, but
Maybe. Ooh, I like this idea though.
mm-hmm.
You know, what my thought was when I was thinking of it as private goals, because I enjoy private goals in games as well. You hear me out on this, right? Because I think that ultimately the idea of like a public objective is probably best, but if what I think would be fun, assuming the game is, say, 5 rounds, right? At the start of the game, if we were to do private goals, private objective cards, say you're dealt 3, and then at the start of the second round, you have to discard one of them.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking, too, because it makes it more fair. Yeah, kind of like they do that in Shipyard, and they do that in other games.
Oh,
but yes.
I was hoping I invented something new here.
No, but it's not in a lot of games, and that's a thing I really like, where it's like you get to like kind of chew on what your goal is going to be, and like decide kind of after you've been playing for a bit, which I love. Mm-hmm. Like that's the thing Tekkenu does, the new Cassini and Terzi game
mm-hmm.
to a lesser degree, because like you get 2 goal cards at the beginning and you have to ditch one before you start playing, but you collect them over the course of the game, and you only get to score 1 with each like symbol type on it. But you can have 3 of the different ones. So near the end of the game, you can be like, okay, which of these am I going to score?
Mm-hmm.
Which is nice.
And it's kind of cool to me. The other thing too, one thing I like about this idea is even if they were private, it's not that the cards are worth points themselves. It's kind of like it's the golden ticket to open up your lockbox.
Right.
So I think either way is going to be a winner. If you just have a public objective, you could have harder ones, you could have easier ones, and it would just add innate variety to the game with that little bit of setup difference. And it might be a real hard one, and you say, I don't think it's worth it. I don't know if it's worth sloughing stuff into my lockbox. But maybe one person does it and says, this was totally worth it, So
yeah.
That's a good piece of meat to chew on, man.
Well, thank you. Do you want me to go in with my big idea for the day too, since I was already like bouncing off ideas?
Yeah, dude, you're on a roll clearly.
Okay. So I had kind of a large scale concept this week because I've been like racking my brain. I think we have a really good grasp on our vision for the worker placement part of this game,
mm-hmm.
and how that's going to work. Whether or not we have our grasp on like what the final things are going to be, I think we have something really solid there. But like I've been thinking like this is Colored Cube Factory, and like we want the factory part of the game to be really fun,
mm-hmm.
but we also don't want it to be like wacky and get out of control and like cause a ton of analysis paralysis. We also want it to be like a kind of effective Euro in that you have to be like efficient with what you're doing. I think we wanted to kind of be like, not themey, but like, okay, this kind of represents like the way a factory might work to people who don't know anything about manufacturing, like you and me, but like we have assumptions,
Yes.
I'm thinking like, okay, we know that we sort of want people to have to like do this in a step where like, okay, they have their stuff, they take all of their stuff at the same time, it turns into new stuff, and then it goes off.
Yep.
So I was sort of thinking like, okay, what is like if I were to distill this concept, like how do we make it fun, and how do we make it meaningful? How do we make it feel like a factory, but we don't add in like any like mechanics? Like there's been mechanics I've played with like a factory game, like Power Grid Factory Manager. It's really spatial, and then you have to like get leveled up versions of these things, and like you have how much you can make, but also how much you can store, and like it's it's cool, but like it's not super fun, and
Okay.
it's kind of clunky. And I think we're kind of going for the same vibe, but like how do we make that fun? But then there's a game like Chocolate Factory, which is like you get 3 actions per day. This stuff comes in on a conveyor belt. You have to like move it around. You can only send this chocolate into this machine. Like, and like I don't think we're going for something that's spatial, and
Right.
that timing based. So here's kind of my thought for like your player board today, and I'll describe it today, and I'll draw a picture next time if I think you like. If you think you like what I'm going with here,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm now kind of envisioning a flow chart on your player board. So like very visually guided, like the steps of the factory process. And so like you start here and then it flows, and like so you know what the steps are. Like there's arrows saying like, okay, like you are here, boom. Now we're in the factory room. Once you're out of the factory, boom, that those 2 ways, and then from there maybe you can go that way. From there you can go that way. So I kind of have this concept that you have like these 2 receiving areas at the front of your board. You have your storage, and you have like what you've gotten that round, right? Okay. So you have like this receiving bay, and you have your storage. And when the factory phase begins, basically you have a certain like, and maybe this is just a track, or this is like, I think it would go best as a track or like meeples like indicating. But basically you have so much manpower to take cubes from your storage and your receiving bay into your factory. So like you're limited by like how good you are. Like that's kind of your time limiter. Like how much time you have to work is based on how much you've invested into being able to take stuff into the factory. So there's no like, you can't like make an engine where like you just have unlimited amounts of stuff and you just get to run all of it and it just gets exponentially huge. I don't know if there's like a defined upper limit, but you're only taking so many cubes in, and it's based on what you've invested into how many cubes you can do, right? And that kind of parallels that idea of like how many trucks you have, like we talked about last time, right? So I'm sure you can kind of see where I'm going with this. So now the factory floor, I've really been chewing on this, and it's like, I don't know if it's a good idea to like make like assemble machines and flows and like have all these different things. I'm kind of thinking that basically once cubes are in the factory, you have like your smashers or whatever, but like basically each cube just goes through one thing and it comes out the other side. So like if it's like I think we kind of do away with the concept of machines that produce stuff out of thin air, but basically you can either like anything that goes in, you can run through any of the one machines or just push it on through. So like you have like just like a white becomes a green or a red, a white becomes a yellow, a white becomes a blue or a black. Any color becomes any color, so on and so forth. Whatever. I don't know if you limit like how many times you can run each machine, but you push it through.
Okay.
Okay, and it's just a very simple thing. It's like just take it from the left, put it on the right, and maybe you can use like any of the factory pieces you have just one time, left to right. So white to yellow, yellow to brown, blue to black, whatever it does. 1 yellow to 2 yellows. However it works, we'll figure that out. But it's just really simple and defined, and is just based on like the few spots you have in your factory for machines. And it's the amount of stuff you're doing is limited by how many cubes you can bring in. Then basically your flowchart goes back to storage. So you can take the stuff to storage, and as long as you have space to store it, you're good. You can take it to basically like a refining area where you assemble cubes together to complete contracts. And you can like take it to your storefront, or like your shipping area. And I can't remember. I'll have to go back and listen because I think we had some really good ideas there.
Okay.
Basically, that's how you can decide to either put your stuff in the lockbox if we do that, or like utilize those cubes for money for the next round.
Yeah.
And so it's just a simple flow chart loop. So storage, receiving, factory, back to storage, towards contracts, towards other stuff. Done. Super simple, and you're limited basically by what you've collected for your factory, how much manpower and machine power you have to process the stuff in the factory, which I think we just have a gate. You don't have to figure it out while you're in there. That's just how many cubes can come by. And then you're limited at the end by how much storage you have, what contracts you set up, and how many trucks you have. And I think that would make it easy, not AP, efficiency-based, interesting, fun, fast, smooth. All those things I think we're trying to go for. But I don't know. I know I've just kind of been rambling, but what are your thoughts on that as like a kind of jumping off point for the factory?
Okay. Let's see. So I really like the flow chart, the simplicity of it. Yeah. Ins.
It's arrows, that way people know how it goes.
Yes, exactly. I love that. So you have your ins, which is cubes acquired / storage, right? And that makes sense to have storage right at the beginning because it's going to go through. So you have your ins, your production, and your outs, essentially. Like, that's it, which is great.
Yeah, a conveyor belt with an arrow back into storage after the factory.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's interesting because my original envisionment of it was that you would have some sort of thing like carts or whatever that you would purchase in order to move stuff into storage, because moving stuff into storage is less efficient than using stuff immediately to fulfill contracts, right? Just-in-time management processes and that type of stuff. But I kind of like your idea that you might need like a cart or manpower or some sort of resource like that in order to be able to pull them out of storage and put them into your production line. I wonder if that would actually make it easier and just less fiddly than my original envisionment.
I just think front-loaded, like a front-loaded essentially cost or a front-loaded like barrier is simpler to deal with than a back-loaded barrier. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because then you don't have to like go back and waffle the turn and you go like, oh, wait, I can't hold this one and this one. Like I need to pull these all back through the factory and do them again.
Exactly.
I think just what can be done.
Because essentially you are paying a cost for putting stuff into storage in that you have to pull it back out, but you're not worrying about that until the next turn, simplifying the process. I like it.
And you get to the next round and nobody can waffle at that point and go like, man, like I realize now that I only can have like, and so like we make that one of the things like I see kind of like a Yokohama vibe, sort of like it's kind of in my head and like I know it's not the way it's going to eventually be, but I kind of see like your pool of like what you have available to you sort of being represented by like a stack of workers that you have. And like they may be different, like there may be a track, there may be like pieces, but I just kind of sort of like go like, okay, well I have about 20 dudes and like 7 of them are assigned to this front loaded cost and 5 of them are assigned to vans and the other 8 are assigned to my worker pool, and it might not be as elegant or simple as that, but it's just like you're kind of growing your workforce, and those are kind of the 3 areas I see the workforce being split between, whether you have to like decide to do it, like, hey, these got like this expenditure that I have is becoming a track move, but like the way I kind of see you growing your workforce is between those 3 pools, like how much can I take into the factory, how much work can I do on the worker placement board, and how much shipping do I have?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're not the same resource, I see those things being tied very strongly together. And then I see like getting cubes, getting pieces of the factory, getting contracts, getting other like things kind of being the other circle, right? At least in my brain, and maybe it's different for you, but I kind of see those being the 2 efficiency puzzles.
Now, here's the thought. This is what came to my mind with this idea of the front loading the process. to pull cubes out of storage and to also deal with, obviously, the shipment of cubes that you, during the worker placement phase, you purchased and you got the cubes and stuff, right?
Sure.
So my thought was, if you can see the tabletop sim thing here, right? For people that can't see it, I'm not really showing anything profound, right? But on the left over here are just stacks of employee tiles, right? Which were some of the majority things that we talked about. If you have the majority workers in the number one worker placement spot where you get white cubes, you also can grab the correlated employee tile that's thrown on the bottom there, right? And so, whereas there's also other ones that have these green backgrounds, which these would be like, one-time bonuses, like you recommend, right? It's like an endowment of $4 or get 2 red cubes or whatever it may be, which aren't employees. They don't permanently stick with you. They're just one-time bonuses. So, because the employees seem inherently stronger because they are ongoing bonuses, here's my thought, Cam, is that on your factory board, on your player board, maybe you start with like 8 meeples over on the left-hand side representing your labor force, right? And so at the start of the game, you can move 8 cubes from from shipments and storage into your factory proper. As you earn these majorities for employees, right, you get this automator, or you get a floor man, or you get you get the negotiator, or whatever like employee bonus things you get. You remove one of your meeples from that labor force, so now you can only bring in 7 cubes based just purely on manpower, right?
That's not a bad idea.
So then it forces you to invest in things like the carts that I have over here, or something, right, that lets you move more stuff. It's the idea of automation, which I brought up in my pitch for that seaweed farming game. Because a
Maracaibo-esque thing also there, which I like.
Where is it in Maracaibo? I don't remember.
So in Maracaibo, when you, just the first half, like certain cards you play out of hand make you use one of your meeples in order to like, and that's, we could have a very elegant design with instead of like growing your worker pool, it gets smaller as you get employees, but it also gets bigger as you get factory pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just transferring back and forth. It also could be the sort of thing where your labor force is not just your worker placement, but also then you assign your labor force to like how much stuff can come in, the front door of the factory, but also how much stuff can go out of the factory, and you kind of have to split between the two. But yeah, I like that, Chris. I think that's really neat. Okay. The one reservation I still have about the worker placement stuff in general is I always want, like, to me, when you win a location bonus, it should be a bonus and not ever be something that you like really feel like you need to get.
Okay.
So I'm less in favor of like tossing up the employees that way. That, or I'm more in favor maybe of like having one of the bonuses being an employee, and then you get to go through the employee deck and pick your employee, or and maybe everybody has the opportunity to get the same employees. In other words, like, I get an employee if I, win this area that gives me an employee, but I have the same 10 employees in little chits I can pull, and I can only ever have one of them. But, like, that means if Dave or Joe gets the negotiator that I wanted, I can still get a negotiator. I just have to win an employee. Because to me, I think we want to, like, I think that both you and I are operating on like, hey, how can we make this a competitive game but keep the playing field level? So, like, I never want there to be a situation where somebody goes, we broke the game. The negotiator's too good. Well, sure, maybe the negotiator's good, but we all had the opportunity to get the negotiator. And it wasn't just like, it just happened to show up in the get money section on a turn when I didn't need money whatsoever. So, so I kind of am pro making the employee, like I'm fine with making the employees a thing you have to win.
Okay.
If we do that, I think you should have some choice in what employee you get, and it shouldn't necessarily preclude other people from getting that same employee.
Okay, that's an interesting thought. Yeah, because the way that I have it in here is there's 3 of like each of the first level employees. There's 3 of the second ones, and then at the end of the game, the round 5 ones. These are like the CFO and the director of logistics, who they give you victory points per like very specific things that you've upgraded during the game. My envisionment was having all of these like round 1 employees shuffled in together with these round 1 and 2 like one-time bonuses. And so the way that you're saying it would be essentially all of these tokens here would just be like a generic hire an employee, and everyone has their own stack of the same these same 8 basic employees you could get, something like that, right?
And here's the thing, too, is you could make it so that, in the first couple rounds you hire these employees, in the second, or, like, we don't need to make it complicated, but, like, you could hire one of those basic employees when you win an employee. Next time you win an employee, you can level that employee up into one of the second-level employees and put that one back in your deck, And then the final ones, I think it's fine to only each person, like, I think it's fine for the last employees to be, there's only 6 of them, and only one person can get the VP of HR, and only one person, and it's still like you get an employee in round 5, but then you go pick from those 6, and it's an order of operations thing. Well, if I win that and I go pick that employee, then now you can't take the foreman. So
then at the end of the game, winning the frontmost majority, which is perhaps the least useful worker placement spot, getting white cubes, whereas the last spot, getting upgrading your factory piece to a higher like that, if you win that and it's an employee, you have last pick out of what these things may be.
Yeah.
That's cool.
You can play around with that, but again, to me, that's just more of like, the more agency we can give a player, the better. And so, like, I'm not saying we need to take randomness and chance and that kind of stuff out of it, but for me, if I play a game and I go, man, like, I really don't want to go get money at all because I have tons of money, but I really want that floorman. I like the efficiency choice where I go, I have to sacrifice this to get that, but I don't like the feeling of I have to sacrifice my plans for this round and these workers just to get something that I feel is really important.
Okay.
And maybe it's not really important. Maybe I haven't looked at these things and none of them are really that important. So, yeah, because it just says, let's see. Okay, I see. I kind of get what you're doing. So yeah, none of these are like crazy, I guess.
Yeah, but you might be looking and saying, "Man, I really would want that thing, but I don't want to win the majority of the earn $1 space, right? Because what's the dollar going to do me? And not really much this particular round. I have plenty of dollars already."
Yeah.
So I think what you're saying is a pretty cool idea, though, right? Like these top 8 workers are here, from the automator down to the sales team, give you some small bonuses or whatever. But if you have more choice, if you have more election in it, if you put basically what would come out here into these spaces, these majority spaces, would be either these one-time bonuses of sorts, 2 red cubes or a yellow cube or $4 or something like that, or kind of this generic tile that says hire a. Oh, here's a thought for you. right? Rounds 1 and 2, the tiles that are in here shuffled in are hire a level 1 employee.
Right.
In rounds 3 and 4, what the tile would come out and read would be hire a level 1 or 2 employee.
Right.
So that, in the later part of the game, if for some reason you still really want this, you never got a floorman and you're like, dadgummit, at this point I really want that floorman,
Right.
then you still have that agency. Hire a level 1 or 2 employee, and then the last round 5, maybe it's hire a level 1 through 3 employee, but probably you're just going to be hiring these like victory point earning guys.
Exactly.
So I think that simplifies a few things. I think it gives so that each person has a stack of these.
And here's the thing, Chris. Maybe you don't even have a stack. Maybe it's just like there's 2 of each, and like if you get first pick on them, you get first pick. Like, to me, I can, like, as a guy who enjoys some competition but enjoys like freedom of choice, I can stomach something I wanted getting taken before I get the chance to take it.
Okay.
And that's on me. But like, there's just times, well, I think if you randomized what worker was up there, I think it would be like, I either want to do this thing, but I hate this employee. Like, I don't care about this employee at all. I wish I was getting a different employee. Or stated negatively, I guess still negatively, is like, I don't want to do this thing, but I really want this employee. And like, it doesn't benefit me at all to get this stuff compared to what I could be getting with my workers. And if I lose this, that's gonna suck. Like, if there's an action you want to do and you don't care if you win the bonus, I guess that's fine. Do the action, and if you get the bonus, it's not ever bad. But so I think you wouldn't even need to print out the extra cardboard for everybody to be able to have an automator, for everybody to be able to have a negotiator. You could still just have 2 of each.
Okay. And a two-player game, 1 of each.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm at on it. I don't know how you feel.
I feel pretty good about that. I think that's clever. I think that still allows for competition, which I think is something that you want in this, right? But allows for just that teensy bit more flexibility, because it just inherently running a factory is going to have some level of rigidity. I wanted to be able to run a duplicator. I want to turn this 1 cube into 2 cubes, but I just can't because I don't own that machine. Like, there's a level of rigidity to that, which I'm okay with. And so I think that having maybe a little bit more control in the employees is a super clever idea. So yeah, so my envisionment is that there's 6 spaces here. So round 1, 3 of these will randomly be a tile that says get an employee, and 3 of them will be some sort of one-time bonus. That still sounds good to you, right?
Yes.
Cool. And then the last round 5, I think all of them would be, if you win the majority, get an employee, right? So that every one of these spaces could win one of these end game victory point type employees.
Good call. And I think then we can really just mess around with, like, as we're playtesting, what we think the order of operations should be for those things. Because, like, we may find that people don't really care about upgrading as much, but they really do care about getting the white cubes,
Yeah.
But if we can talk about cubes for just a second, I'm starting to sort of, like, get an idea in my head, and I think you already have an idea about cubes. I think you've been operating off of, like, there's 4 levels of cubes.
Just for now, yeah. That can change.
What I'm kind of liking in my brain right now, as far as factory pieces goes, is that there's a white, like your basic white cube, and then that there's like 3 different colors of level 2 cubes, and 3 different colors of level 3 cubes. But I don't know how much variety we have on, like, is there like a flowchart where, like, the pieces you get will, like, let you turn a white cube into a red cube or a blue cube, and then there's but blue cubes always upgrade into green cubes, Or like, do we have a variety where like this machine turns a blue cube into a green cube, but this machine turns a blue cube into an orange cube? And I shouldn't say it like that because I think probably what we should do is we should have. I think it's just very simple. If like right now, if we just go off of like white cubes can become red, and we'll make it colorblind friendly. But right now, like there's 3 primary colors, there's 3 secondary colors. So it's pretty easy to tier things out. Like there's red, yellow, and blue, and then there's green, orange, and purple. So like I'm looking at these pieces right now, and I'm seeing like, you have your smasher, which turns 2 cubes into an upgraded cube.
Yeah, it's just as of now, it's just level +1 essentially.
Yeah, so from in my idea, that would let you turn 2 white cubes into a red, yellow, or blue cube, and then if you put a red two of those primary colors in there, you'd get a secondary color cube of your choice, pretty much regardless. Whereas like there would also be, I think, like flowchart, like sniper shots, where it's like, hey, I have 3 red cubes, and these 3 red cubes are going to become 3 purple cubes because red becomes purple with this machine. Or blue, and like the machine might be the same thing where it's like red becomes purple, blue becomes green, yellow becomes orange, and like you just push it through and you don't have to waste cubes, but you're kind of locked in. And so like your smashers would give you some like variety, but you're like sort of losing cubes. And then you'd have like these like jammers, which like you only use 1 cube, but you're locked into what kind of cube you get.
Okay, so
that would mean we'd have to have more pieces, I guess. I don't know, more cubes for sure. I like the duplicator. I like. Oh, then you have your refiner, which makes 2 cubes 2 levels higher. I like that. Ooh, and we have one that gives you a point. I like what you're doing here.
Cool.
So far, I kind of love what you have. I think that we make storage cheap in this game because we're front loading the cost. But I still do think you probably have to buy storage if you like. I think maybe your storage starts at like 6 cubes, and you can buy another 6 cubes of storage, and then maybe another 6 cubes of storage, and maybe that's too much. So maybe it's like 4, 4, 4. Because I think like end of the game, I'd really like to see people bringing in like 10 cubes.
Okay.
Currently, kind of where my brain's at, because I think like managing any more than 10 is, well, maybe it gets more than that, especially if you're crushing down cubes to make better cubes. I don't know.
And the way that we have the factory run, right? Like last time we discussed it, I think we're still on that same mindset as you have all of your machines in your factory. You just lay the cubes on there because each machine could only fire off once. So it simplifies it so much so you're not going order of operations too much, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And so I think that's I think that will make it so that you can manage 10, 15 cubes very easily on your turn because you say, well, 2 purples I need to turn into the highest level or whatever it may be.
Yeah. And you just kind of have unlimited space on your factory floor for machines because like where we're going to limit people is in like how much they can bring in.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think that's pretty good. So like we've gone over a lot of stuff I was thinking about today. And I think we've reached some new highs as far as what we're vibing on. We've been doing it about an hour, but did we cover any of the stuff you were wanting to talk about?
Yeah, because my thoughts were on the factory. I did have some thoughts on the factory of how to, and basically I think what we've discussed brought some of those ideas out already, and I was able to contribute a few thoughts to what you've already got, which I think is fantastic. And so yeah, I'm liking it, man. I'm liking where this is going.
Yeah, but big props, big cheers to you for. I think you've made a beautiful. Is it possible to share this this prototype with me so I can view it at my leisure?
I have no idea how to do that, but I can figure it out.
I mean, if it's a lot of work, don't worry about that. I wonder how I screenshot my iPad so I can come back and zoom in on these. I love what you've done here, though, and you know what? Maybe it's as simple as maybe we get together in a couple days here, and you load me into this, and I spend a little time dinking around with it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I there is a way to make this like a shareable thing so that you can just log into it on your own. I have no idea what that might be, but I'll look into it for sure.
If it's super easy, do it. If it's super complicated, don't worry about it. But
Fair deal.
I love it.
Good, man. Good.
Hey, you want to flip the table real quick?
Let me save everything in there first because I don't remember the last time that I saved all the updates to it. But yeah, you ready?
Yeah, bud.
All right, zoom out just a wee little bit. Boom!
Oh, that looks great. Colored Cube Factory, getting them on the floor, baby. Love it. Cool, man. Well, I think that was a pretty good episode of this show. I think we've actually, despite, well, I guess we had 2 weeks to think this time. So
we did. Last week, like I said, was the Root week. All I did in my free time was play Root.
I need to play our sword. The single player challenge is really fun.
They're all right. Yeah, like I've never won a single game of Root with a dominance card ever. It's just not the way that my I don't approach the game that way. I'm chasing points, so
yeah.
So I've tried it a few times because it forces me to have to play that way, and I'm bad at it.
Dominance cards are cool. I threw away a game I was like assured to win one time just because I was getting cocky and I was like, let's just end it now, dominance card. And then I did not win, and I've never tried a dominance card since. But the one thing I don't love about the dominance cards is that's how you get somebody else like winning by 20 points. Is like everybody goes, well, we got to stop him from being dominant because that's really easy to be like you win or you don't. But
yeah.
Nobody can stop the progress of like I just get a few points per turn because there's no way to stop somebody from getting points, like short of completely destroying them.
Right.
So I don't know. It's Root. Root's cool, man. The more I play it, the more I like it.
Yes, which is a rare treat, I feel like, in games where not only is it the more I play it, I like it, the more I play it, the more I say, I have to play this more.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think this is an awesome episode.
Yeah, we did great. I'm yawning now, so probably time for me to take a quick nap before I go do some Board Boys podcasting. We're playing Cyclades today, so we're going to continue the streak of Cam not winning games on the podcast for a little while.
Nice. Yeah. You don't want to get too stale,
Yeah. Well, what did we play last time? We played
Race and Roll for the Galaxy or Tricarian.
I didn't win Paladins. Well, I won a few games of we did Race and Roll. I won a few games of that, and then before that it was I don't know. We've done a lot of games.
I've never played Cyclades. Have you played it before?
I've played Kemet, and I have not played Cyclades. But I hear Cyclades. I think the consensus of people I know that have played both games like Cyclades better.
Okay.
Is Inish also in that? Is that?
Yeah, it's same company, same publisher. Matagot.
Is there a third game in the Cyclades Kemet?
People say Inish. Yeah, that's what they say.
I wasn't so stoked on Inish. I liked the art on the cards. I thought the player boards were kind of but not the player boards, like the map boards. I thought like the gameplay. I just don't love area control.
See, Inish for me is kind of like the dominance cards in Root. Where someone's like kind of succeeding and everyone's like, get him, and it is not the dynamic gameplay that I like.
Yeah, I really liked Kemet. I think Kemet's great. So we'll see how I feel about Cyclades.
Cool.
Which I like to play.
Yeah, let me know, man, because I've wanted to try one of those games, Kemet or Cyclades, because people say it's just like the top of the line area control game out there, and I played Inish and I hated it. But that one's more divisive, whether people like it or not.
The game like Cyclades, I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of jokes that are like Cyclades. Hey, I'm sick of these. These what? These nuts! Sorry, you can cut that out.
I'm not cutting anything out. Anyway, man. Cool. I think we had a good sesh. So.
Yeah, good, man.
All right, well, my name is Board Game Factory.
And my name is Cube.
All right, have a good one.
Man, maybe I should make my